It is Magic 107.5, 97.5, the real sound of Atlanta, Sunday sermons, and I had to bring my great friend back onto the platform, onto the station, Curtis Akeem, from producing to writing to band extraordinaire to now adding a new title. We're going to get all the way to it, but I know you got this big event coming up at State Farm Arena, and you know that, and it's really your background in drumline and you know, being able to now host a whole Battle of the Band situation, man. And you've been hosting a lot of them, but it's different when it's in your backyard.
Yeah, it's few times that I do get to host at home, and then to be hosting in another arena at home is just crazy, man. State Farm Arena, January 15th. We got Southern, Jackson, Miles, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and Talladega College all in one building. I am the master of ceremonies. That's so churchy. I'm the host.
Yes.
State Farm Arena, man. Yeah.
Going down. All the HBCUs are going to be in the city.
Yeah.
It's King Weekend, so you know you got the time off.
Yeah.
So make sure you pull up State Farm Arena. Where can they get tickets? We need to handle the business part right now.
Ticketmaster.com and just type in HBCU Culture Battle of the Bands, or go to HBCUculture.com.
That's simple,
Either
y'all.
way.
Make sure you get your tickets. It's fun for the whole family. If you've not been to a Battle of the Bands, this is the one you need to be at. I enjoy the HBCU culture. I enjoy the band culture as a whole. But how you really just took off. And from the last time we talked, I'm talking like, you out of here. Like, I'm glad your number didn't change. My number changed. I can admit that.
Say your number
My number changed. I ain't gonna lie, but
your number changed.
the way you've literally just taken a whole new level of just greatness on this. You were doing a lot of great things before, but just to add to a whole nother tier to that is, how does it, like, the last 6 months been for you, man?
Man, I would say crazy, overflowing, and blessed, man. Like, to be honest with you, I honestly thought that I was about finished as far as what was going on. And then it just went to a whole new level. Like, God is just blowing my mind. Like, real talk. Like, at this point, I'm living in overflow. That's what I call it.
And that's that and then some, because you even your marketing classes and going to different universities, like, look, this is someone that really knows you and whatnot, so I be following, I know what's going on. So you going to college, you got like a master class course. I mean, you've really just taken on what you've built organically. You know, you didn't out here not buying followers and buying likes. But just folks actually rocking with what you're doing. So how did you figure out, like, you know what, I need to monetize this. I need to make sure other people can learn how to do this too.
See, this wasn't me. This was the people around me. Like, I was giving all this knowledge away for free. And then people around me are like, no, bro, you know people will pay for this stuff. I'm like, really? And then, you know, you start putting it out there. Next, you know, people are just hitting up the Cash App, hitting up the PayPal. It's like, hold on, y'all would pay for this knowledge? And then from that point, I'm just like, well, we just going to keep courses rolling. We're going to keep, I'm going to build schools, so. Like, real talk.
Atlanta-Rado is present. I'm just letting you know, Atlanta-Rado is in the building.
Shout out to Prime. I'm coming.
Yes. Shout out to Coach Prime.
Shout out to Coach Prime.
And I definitely want to make sure we touch on your personal growth, because I feel like when these moments occur, you can become your ego can go out of control. In the interview that was between Shirley Ralph and Jackie Harry this past week with Essence, and Shirley Ralph was like, I'm glad I was nice to the person that brought me coffee.
I did see that. I did see those.
And it's just like the ego that, you know, can either help you later on the line or can harm you. In Jack K's case, incredibly talented actress, but we haven't seen her in a while because of how she was in the 80s.
Right.
So how are you managing, like, the fast track you've been on for well over like 2.5 years now? Because really the pandemic really kind of, you know, that runway, and you've been on that flight path in a whole different area. So how are you, like, keeping yourself as level-headed, but also understand, look, I can't do the same things I used to do?
Keeping the right company around. I keep friends around that don't care about who I am outside of our relationship. So it's humbling in a sense, because you may want them to want to feel like you're something else, but they let you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so honestly, my friends keep me grounded. And honestly, it's sometimes on the flip side, some of my friends would be like, bro, do you know who you are? I'm kind of like, I don't feel it because of the circle that I have. Like, we're so normal, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, the friends that was around from when I first had the vision to start this up until where it's been has been the same people. So they just kind of keep me grounded, bro.
That's wonderful.
A great circle will keep you where you need to be and keep you blessed for real.
Definitely. And I got to ask right now, when can we expect some new music?
Oh, that's good.
I'm a fan, and again, I broke the record here in Atlanta. So, I mean, I got to ask. Because, you know, actually, Dollar Watson is still out here in these streets.
We're working on some new music hopefully next month.
Okay.
This month has been all about, you know, with transition to new job, new stuff. I just kind of want to get acclimated to new systems first. But we are getting back in the studio in February.
Nice.
Like legit. Like,
nice.
That's happening.
Heard it here first. Curtis Akeem, we getting new music coming 2023.
Yes.
Stay on the lookout for it.
Yes, we are.
But now we gonna get to the nitty gritty, to the latest addition entitled to the long list of abilities and accomplishments. You got a phone call, I'm assuming, or a text message like, hey, we don't need a youth pastor, and we think you'd be a good fit for it. And here we are in January 2023. You kicked off that announcement on New Year's Day at the Watch Night service. Trust, I do my homework. I know these things. Out there in Conyers. How do we get to that point where it's just like, you know what? I'm a child of God. I'm faithful. I'm a steward. And now leading an entire division of the church, which, especially in the black church, is sometimes overlooked, not necessarily given the necessary tools to succeed. How'd you take on that role, my brother?
Well, a lot of people don't know. I was licensed to preach at 15. It's just, I had to go my own way, I call it. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was younger, while I was licensed to preach and I felt called by God, I just wasn't like everybody else around me. So I had to go out there and experience some stuff.
Right.
Put whatever you need to put in there. So I had to go out there and do some things. But I definitely feel like because of the way that God took me through my life, it allows me to be probably one of the most cutting-edge youth pastors that there is, because I really know their language. I know what they're going through. I'm not speaking from a place of just sitting them down and damning them. But I know when you're horny. I know when you lie. I know this stuff because I've been through it, and I'm not afraid to tell people, hey, I'm still on that same page with you. I'm just a little bit older. So, long story short, I had been serving at my former church, Embassy City. I love Embassy City. I miss you all. I'm still going to be coming back around. But Springfield Baptist Church had actually booked me to host their Juneteenth festival. So this is how God works. So anyway, so they bring me to this big old church. They're like, hey, man, you know, we want to take on a tour of the church. See, to this day, I don't know if they, like, real talk, I don't know if they was bringing me there with like a, hey, let's just see where he's at. I don't know. But we're going to leave it there.
This was an unofficial audition. I think that's what he's saying right now. Honestly, they were just like, you know what? Let's bring him in and see what he likes.
Honestly, I feel in my heart that it was, hey, I like this dude. Let's bring him in and see. So they take me on a tour of the church, one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever been to. And then you start hearing, you know, we need a youth pastor, right? I'm like, oh, all right.
Okay.
You know, that's what's up.
That's news.
And then me and Pastor Mapp, I got to give a shout out to my boy Pastor Mapp. He is the reimagination pastor of Springfield. He's responsible for making sure that Springfield goes into the next wave of Christian worship, X, Y, and Z.
Gotcha.
So me and Pastor Matt just continue the conversation over months. Just, hey, bro, how are you? Hey, can we sit down and eat? Nothing too crazy. And I just let them know what my journey was with the embassy to keep it clear. Also let embassy know what I was thinking about doing, because wherever you leave right. That's a lesson in that. Wherever you leave.
Lesson.
Anyway, so you know, we're just talking, and I'm not really thinking anything of it until he's like, hey, Pastor Lee wants to meet with you. Like, oh, the senior pastor, this big dog, Dr. Eric Lee, love you. And then we go to a Cracker Barrel at like 9 in the morning, and this is when I knew I was gonna go to the church. Normally, when pastors have churches of this size, they a little more high in themselves. Pastor Lee pulled up in his nice regular pickup truck, a sweatsuit. I just knew he was gonna have security with him. No, he just pulled up. Curtis, where are you? I'm like, oh, I was waiting on make sure your armor bearer. He's like, I don't have none of that. Let's go sit down and eat. We sat down for like 2 hours, man.
Wow.
And then even after that, because Dr. Lee is an individual where you don't know what he thinks. He's very even. He's been doing this. He's been pastoring Springfield like 20 plus years. So he's seen it all. And then I leave the meeting kind of feeling like, I don't know, what's going to go from here. At that point, I get another message, hey, I want you to meet so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, I'm meeting people. And then finally we get down to, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to offer you this, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, and now, I'm the youth pastor of Springfield Baptist Church. They haven't had a youth pastor in over 2 years.
Wow.
And I'm just excited to be there, man. They putting everything in place to make sure that I win. Everything. There's nothing I could think of that they haven't done. So now the work is on me. Work is on me.
So, how did you have this conversation with your wife? Because I know this is as a PK, I understand.
Okay, okay.
There's a level of understanding that I get that, with the congregation is always with you. There's always going to be someone, I need some prayer, I need this, can you come?
Yeah.
It's not just a lifestyle, it's a calling, and it's also a responsibility that requires a lot of time commitment.
It does.
So, you are a father of 3. You are a husband.
Yes.
How did you have that conversation and let them know, like, hey, this is what they have come to me with, and I think I'm leaning towards taking it? Like, how'd that conversation go?
One thing that I could appreciate my wife for, and anybody will tell you this, my wife is a rider for real. So you know how some people love to say that, but any crazy idea or anything I come to my wife with, my wife is a let's do it type girl. Even if she may have her own apprehensions, I like that we build a relationship to where she trusts me enough to know that, hey, if he says he's gonna do something, bet your bottom dollar he's gonna do it. And so when I went to her about it, me and her kind of joked about it at first. I was like, this church over here, this is how it looks, blah blah blah. And I was just kind of like, man, this church is never gonna hire me. I'm too radical. It's a good old Baptist church. So we didn't really think about it for real until, honestly, the contract came. I was like, baby, this is real. She was like, well, you just gotta adjust. Cause at Embassy, I go from being one of the oldest people at 33 to now at Springfield, I'm the youngest pastor. So it's like that whole thing. So we just had a conversation. I said, hey, baby, I think this is what God is calling our family to, and I think this sets us up for the future. And once she heard that, she was kind of like, well, I just got to get used to this new norm, and I'm fine.
So now she's a whole first lady, and the kids are all the way PK, so they can holler at their Uncle Sam. They need to navigate through that, because the lens that's going to be on them, no matter what they do, is like, it's not just you taking a position, it was the family taking a position.
Yeah.
So I think that something that I can share with you now as a whole PK of well over 30 some odd years is that always stay true to yourself, because at the end of the day, the world is always going to be the world, and the people in the congregation are also still in the world the way we once were. But at the same time, to just stay as grounded to what you know and believe and what you've always brought them up with, that doesn't change. You're going to have a whole bunch more aunties and uncles and this, that, and the other.
But that's the hard part, right? About concerning like me and my wife. What's funny is my wife overall is the way more social person than I am. And a lot of people don't believe that. I'm just social around people that I like or when I have to be. My wife is social all the time. So it's kind of funny watching her now retreat to be like,
Oh, so
so now
she's in the corner like,
now, hey y'all, this is my wife, this is blah blah blah, and they just Lady Mia, and she's like, they gotta call me lady. I'm like, baby, it's just
very churchy.
This is what it is. And her friends joke with her too. Oh, you Lady Mia now? They love it. I think she loves it on the low. You know what I'm saying? Because she knows that I'm happier overall. Not saying I wasn't happy at my church, but just I was at a point in my life where I wanted to serve more. I wanted to serve better. And I just wanted a space to be able to do that. And Springfield afforded me an opportunity to be able to serve at a capacity to where I don't feel like I'm losing on either side. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's my social media side or the church. They facilitated a way for me to do both.
That's wonderful. So what's your vision as the youth pastor in 2023? What are some of like your target goals that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna come in and not only bring in my viewpoint, my experiences, but what is like something like this is what I'm gonna bring? What are you bringing to the new position?
The biggest thing is I think I'm going to bring innovation to youth ministry overall. The reason why I say that is because as we talk about youth ministry, most churches focus on just teen worship. As long as they're here on Sundays. No. I want to implement a place where these kids can come anytime. We're going to put a podcast studio in the church. We're going to put all sorts of multimedia in the church. All sorts of different types of trades you can learn. Electricians, plumbing, barbering. Because what happens is a lot of the times in church, we got to go outside to go find out how to use these tools. And then by the time we learn everything we need to learn, we bring it back to the church, and the church is still behind. So picture if I have a place where I can call on my bro to come talk about radio in real time. I can call my bro Fields, hey man, can you show him how to come work this camera in real time? So not only are we accepting the ones that have the talent, but we're sending the talented out. Because if they have that foundational base of Christ, no matter where they go, they're at least going to be that light. I'd rather send out than have to retrieve all the time. Now, retrieval is a part of your walk with Christ, for sure. But if I can equip you so when you leave, you can go out there and fish before I do. You can be on a movie set. I'm not saying go out there and quote Bible scriptures, but there's something different about you that people be like, hey, what's something, tell me something different. Let you know, hey, just come to my spot, come to Springfield, come hang out, come meet my youth pastors, come see what we doing over there, and you see a fully functioning system, film studios, everything. So my overall goal is to create a place where these kids can gain real skills now and not have to gain it as hard.
That is already as progressive as you can possibly be, because it's always been, the outreach in regards to bringing new folks into the church has been, very, very textbook. But we are in 2023 now, out of a pandemic, well, quote, air quote.
And in a recession.
And a recession with inflation. With precipitation falling out of the sky all the time. So we've got to figure out how to not even meet the need, but discover need before it's even the need. And
that's my thing. And this is just a life lesson. This ain't just church. I hate meeting tragedy. What happens if we can just help prevent it? Don't get me wrong. I'm going to say I hate it, but it's a lot of stuff that people go to that could have been prevented. I'd much rather meet it so that way I can nip it in the bud and say, hey, I realize where you're going. Let me help you figure this out before you go all the way down.
Right.
Imagine if more people just had that. And that's what I feel I'm here to do, is just say, hey, watch yourself. Now, of course, we all been hard-headed. These kids going to be hard-headed. They still going to go down some stuff. But at least if they can at least have my voice in the back of their head, like Curtis did say, this is what this looks like. Boom, we good.
And it's different coming from someone that's not a parent. I feel like everyone listens a little bit better and a little bit easier when it's not coming from someone that is so much older than them or someone that's super critical of them.
Right.
Where you're meeting them at right where they are.
And that's what they'll do. Like you said, meeting them where they at. It's a trust. But I think it takes time for all of us from our generation to be those new voices. Because let's be realistic. There's a lot of people who are quote-unquote voices for us that they don't have our ear. But there's nobody to stand in the gaps anymore but them. So I think as a whole, everybody needs to take a part and say, I'll be that new voice. Because if we don't, there's going to be generations that are lost. Not just this generation, but generations. Because the legends, we can figure out who they are. I'm not going to say no names. But you're not listening to a lot of these reverends and elders now. Some of them are old enough to be great-grands. I'm not listening to them because they don't know what I'm going
Exactly. They're too far disconnected.
And then they're still pointing the finger. We live in a generation where it's like, prove it to me. You can tell me I'm going to get on drugs. You can tell me I'm going to go to jail, but why? Why? Well, this is why, because I'm on the ground. I'm watching what you do. So I just think all of us need to stand in the gap. Not just a youth pastor, because the youth pastor is my title, but my function is to stand in the gap regardless of where I am, whether it's marching band, whether it's school, whether it is the church. I just want to stand in the gap and say, hey, before you make this decision, just think about it. The church is just an added place for me to do ministry.
Absolutely. It's a platform that does come with a sense of distinguish. but at the same time, the humanity isn't lost.
Correct.
In the midst of it. I think that's what an issue that has come up in church is that we lose humanity. We've lost like the real sense of just being like, we're people.
Yeah. And that's my biggest thing is like, that's another thing that I do want to bring to the pulpit of this size is, hey, I'm still a real one. You know what I'm saying? So if I do get up on there for Springfield because they are Baptist church, if I wear sneakers and a sweatsuit to them, it's like, but
it's communion Sunday, Pastor.
But I just want to let them know, like, hey, my clothing doesn't make my ministry any less more impactful. And just show the world, like, hey, you can love Christ. You can have a religion and be cool now. It's not something that you do right before you go to death. Mm-hmm. You can still serve and be cool. You can still serve and work at a radio station. You can still serve and be in movies. I just think that one thing that the church has to do a better job of is letting people know that it doesn't have to be faith-based for you to minister. Everybody thinks that if you do music, if you do R&B, that's the devil. No. God just wants people in places that can show his glory through whatever they're doing.
Very much so.
So God would love a Beyonce. She'll show another light through her singing. That doesn't mean that she has to sing, about gospel. She doesn't have to sing the name of Jesus. Just picture if you get into a back room and you see Beyonce praying. That does something to you. Like, oh, Beyonce be praying before. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's stuff like that that people have to understand. This is what God wants us to do overall.
And just like that, Curtis Akeem, make sure you follow this man on all social media platforms. Make sure you visit Springfield. Yeah. Make sure, you support the HBCU culture,
yes.
Battle of the Bands.
The arts culture.
The arts
overall.
Culture. All of it.
Just all of it.
Look here. Make sure you everything.
Everything.
If you got a drum, you better beat it.
Yes.
Just like this interview. We out.